Day. Let me go ahead and move on to our next subject, though, ahead of New Year's Eve. I was reading a story published on CBS News. 2021 has marked as the deadliest year for transgender people in the US. An advocacy group has found, um, according to the Human Rights Campaign, this was the deadliest year for transgender or non binary people, with 47 people killed since January 1st. I actually have someone with me who is in healthcare, but also a transgender woman, Dr. Tiffany Najberg. Did I say it right, Tiffany?
Yes, you did.
Okay, because I practiced. So I was just talking about the statistic of 47 people recorded to have been killed who were transgender or non-binary, but I'll let you make the point about how oftentimes people are not the way they lived is not respected in their death in some cases.
Yes, and actually the latest is 50. Um,
Oh goodness.
yeah, we've broken the record this year, but this is certainly it's a vast undercount because a lot of times, even in death, we are misgendered by the police and other authorities. Sometimes it's accidental, sometimes it's deliberate. Um, it's which is really sad because you would think that in death you would at least have the respect to honor somebody's fundamental wishes. What is that hurting anyone? So, but
Absolutely.
yeah, it's a vast undercount, and
Now,
I don't know what the true number is.
right. Now, Dr. Tiffany, you work in healthcare, and oftentimes some of the stories I've done in the past with some of my other stations, people assigned one gender at birth who are now living their truth have a hard time switching over their insurance, their IDs, all types of those things. And I hear horror stories from people in the transgender non-binary community who are constantly misgendered, even in healthcare.
Yes, my health insurance won't switch my name. Um, I have been fighting for months. I changed my name legally in the spring, and I am still to this day. I spend sometimes whole days talking with places trying to get it changed. I've had to notarize over 15 forms to get various things changed. You know, it just people don't think about that, but yes, they make it phenomenally hard. Ironically, the easiest thing that I had to change was my medical license. Once I had the court judgment, they actually were very helpful. The Louisiana State Board of Medical Examiners actually was very helpful with that. I don't want to say it's all bad because there were people like them that actually helped out a lot. So
Now, now, what resources do we have locally to help people with their transition? I know, Virginia, where I came from, it was you could get your top surgery paid for through your insurance on Medicaid. In fact, um, are there any resources like that here in Louisiana?
there are, but they're not easy to find. One resource that is pretty helpful is Louisiana Trans Advocates because there's a lot that's kind of the doorway to the community. And on online things like Facebook and stuff like that, you can actually find other trans people who have been through these fights, and they can point you in the right direction. But other than crowdsources, outside of New Orleans, there really isn't any. There really isn't very much organized stuff other than the Louisiana Trans Advocates and the crowdsource power it brings. So there's a real gap there. So and people like
Well,
myself are trying to fill that.
I appreciate you, being open in your truths and um, willing to share and educate us. Now, Dr. Nyberg, what is it like here in, northeastern Louisiana, um, living as a woman?
Well, I mean, actually, in Shreveport proper, I've had pretty good experiences. Um, everyone here has been a lot more welcoming and accepting than in some of the other corners of the state that I've been to. So I actually, the people here have been really wonderful. So there's exceptions, but the exceptions are just that, they're exceptions. They're not they're not indicative of the people of Shreveport as a whole, which I really appreciate.
Have you run in, because you work in an urgent care facility, have you run into difficulty with patients much?
Occasionally, it is rare, but occasionally I do have patients who will just get up and leave and refuse to be treated by me. Yes, that does happen.
That's
Sometimes with
awful.
some explosive profanity on their part too, which really that can be a little demoralizing.
I'm sorry to hear that. Again, is the trans advocacy group kind of where you get that support, or do you get it from your friends and family?
Both. I'm very lucky in that my family was very supportive. I also have a very large group of friends that are very supportive, both that were there pre-transition and post. I have a wonderful girlfriend who's very supportive, and I'm tied in very well with the community. So honestly, I probably have it a lot better than most people. So, and I'm very thankful for that. It's made a world of difference.
Absolutely. Now, in the community that you're tied into, do you hear a lot of people, specifically in the minority community, struggling with resources or um, coming out even?
Yes, it's like I said, my situation is not typical. I know people who have had to live in their cars after they came out many times. Entire families disowning them. Sometimes their families perpetrate violence on them, especially the younger ones that don't have the capability of living independently. Um, I know many people that were thrown out of their house at 17. Um, I know many people that just having food is a struggle, and it's worse in the minority communities. Um, eh, it's it's hard. It breaks my heart, and I'm relatively new to the community. I've only been out for a little less than a year and a half, and I've but the amount of things like that that I've heard, it's horrible. And I wish people would just treat each other better and realize that when people do come out, that they're the same person. They'll just be happier. They're not going to lose that person. And if you're struggling to find it in your heart not to hate someone, look at them and remember that person. You loved them before. You can love them just fine coming out after they come out.
Absolutely. Now, Dr. Tiffany, I know some of my friends personally have struggled with everything from coming out to their family to homelessness to um, dating at a very young age. Um, what advice do you have to people who may be trying to navigate that?
Whatever you do, even if you haven't found it yet, know that there are people out there that will love and cherish you. Know that what you have experienced is not how everyone is, even if it seems like your whole world is like that. Please do not lose hope. Things are going to get better. You will find your home. You will find your tribe. You will find your people. And when you find us, we'll embrace you with open arms. but don't lose hope.
Now, I do have your name below us right here. So if anyone wants to reach out, are you on Facebook?
Yes, I'm on Facebook under Tiffany Alexis Nyberg. I do a lot of education stuff on TikTok too. Tifftastic75 is my name there. So that's probably where I put my new stuff up most frequently. So, but uh, but yeah, Tiffany Alexis Nyberg on Facebook and Instagram, and Tifftastic75 on TikTok.
Thank you for being willing to share this with us. I know, it's not always easy to talk about things that make us uncomfortable or we may not know as much about. In my case, I'm still learning terminology and how to be an ally to groups. But I do appreciate you coming on and talking with us because I mean, that statistic, um, it's too many, but the sad thing is there are probably many more.
Yeah, and most people don't know what's happening. And the best way to fight this is by turning the lights on in the room on stuff like this. It always is.
I know when I was in Virginia, I reached out to local law enforcement departments about, violence against non-binary, transgender, and other minority groups. And the thing about it is they didn't categorize that. So they weren't even keeping track. And I feel like that's still the case with a lot of departments nationally.
Yes, one day we'll know how much this happens. The thing is we're struggling to keep track of just homicides. This isn't, the number of
Assault.
rapes or, domestic violence incidents or critical injuries from assaults, that happen. And there's a lot of those. There are a ton of those. Before I came out as an ER doc, to be honest, the most trans people that I had met had been as an ER doc, and their chief complaint was usually either domestic violence or raped. That was how I encountered most trans individuals before I came out. I'd never actually seen one for, a different type of medical problem prior. And that's just horrible.
It's heartbreaking, truly, truly. Wow. Well, do you treat people in the LGBTQIA plus community at a higher rate? Like, do people reach out to you because you are so open and willing to educate?
Yes, and anyone in the community is always welcome here. I do, and I do stuff like gender affirming care and stuff. And our clinic is a safe place for anyone. So, and I'm really proud to be able to offer that.
I am thankful that you do in this community. I think you living your truth and being open and willing to share and educate people like myself um, opens the door for many who may not know and may be struggling currently. I hope, people watching this may reach out because this is life-saving surgery in many cases.
Yes, and we've got your back. I don't do the surgeries, but I do the affirming care and I do referrals. So
Awesome. Well, Dr. Tiffany, is there anything else that you'd like to share before I let you go?
I really appreciate you having me on.
No, I appreciate you coming on at such short notice. I just felt like before the year ended, we needed to get this on here. Very important, especially after seeing that statistic. That is awful. And what we don't know, I think, is even worse.
We can do this. We can solve this problem. We
I
can
hope
win.
so. I hope so. Okay, well, thank you, Dr. Tiffany. I really appreciate you.
Likewise. Thank you.
Alrighty, guys, we are going to head on to our next subject. Mm.